Hi, my name is Violet, and today I'm going to be demonstrating a run of Hollow Knight's 107% All Bosses category. Um, this is a full completion category that collects every major pickup and ability in both the base game and the first three DLC patches. Um, we don't use any content from the last DLC patch, which is a boss rush mode. But the first three still add 7% and also a number of interesting bosses, which we have to kill. So the majority of this run is going to be picking up all our abilities as quickly as possible, and then from there, going throughout the game, clearing out all of it, killing everything major that we need to as we go, um, and then finishing the game up with the main endgame bosses, including fan favorites such as Nightmare King Grim, and I guess he's not necessarily a favorite, but Great Prince Ode as well. This run will be using the no major glitches rule set, so we won't be doing any major sequence breaks or out of bounds shenanigans or anything of that sort. This is just going to be playing the game very quickly and very efficiently, because this route has been constructed over the past 5 or so months by a decent number of runners and based off a couple other categories that do similar things. And it's not perfect by any means, but it is very efficient at this point. Um, so we're just going to be heading through King's Pass. The first few things to note now are both my health. We have 5 HP. And my soul meter, which is the way we both heal and use spells, which we will collect later. You get soul from striking enemies, and you can use that soul to heal or use spells to kill things. We will also be picking up one more thing here in King's Pass, which is the first room. Very good tutorial room, I have to say. We will be picking up a charm here. There are 40 charms throughout Hollow Nest, and we will be getting all of them because this is a full completion category and charms are percentage. Charms are skills you can equip at save points effectively. They have a certain cost in notches. You have a limited number of notches to equip them, and they give you various benefits, some of which much more novel than the others, let's say. We don't use all 40 charms throughout the game. We just need to pick them up. This first charm we picked up is relevant, though. Fury of the Fallen gives us a 75% nail damage increase, as long as we're at 1 HP. Now, for obvious reasons, we don't use this throughout the whole run. That would be rather spooky. Optimally, 107 uses it for the first 3 bosses of the run. However, only the first one is really consistent enough for me to feel comfortable using in a marathon setting. Especially with how much the time penalty for dying to either of the last two are. So we will only be using Fury on the False Knight. Also, if you noticed, I went down to collect a Geo Rock. Geo is this game's money system. We use it to buy a lot of stuff. We buy so many things in this run, because there are a lot of things that need buying. And one of them, which is the reason I collected that Geo now, is Stag Stations, which are the game's fast travel system. Well, not the game's only fast travel system, but the game's primary fast travel system. And we need 50 Geo for this first Stag Station, which is for the Forgotten Crossroads, because we will need to come back here a few times. So that's why I ended up picking up that Geo. You might have noticed I doubled back for a bit of extra Geo after the first arena of the game. And there was also the Geo Rock before Fury of the Fallen, which I picked up for that case. So here we're going to be spending that Geo. Also equipping Fury of the Fallen. You will probably be able to tell that my game is not in English, despite me speaking English. We run Hollow Knight in Chinese because the dialogue is noticeably faster. And especially for a category like this where you do a lot of text matching, it probably adds up to a couple minutes of time saved from being in Chinese. Not even joking. So here, I'm going to do a couple damage tanks to set up Fury of the Fallen before we fight and very easily dispatch up the False Knight, which is going to be our first boss. Now, normally False Knight is a bit of a roadblock for some new players, myself included. I died a few times to this guy, but because of Fury of the Fallen, we don't even need to worry about him attacking. And that's the third cycle. After 3 cycles, he will end up dying. So now we're going to stand over here and wait while he throws a fit about having been defeated. And then yeet. Pick up the rest of that Geo as it falls, and kill him. False Knight drops 2 things. The first is the City Crest, which isn't a percentage, but it is a key that allows us to get into a later area, so we will be picking it up here. And then he also drops this chest with a nice 200 Geo, which we managed to pick up all of, which is rather nice. So here we're going to be heading up to the Ancestral Mound, where we will pick up our first spell. Spells are a primary damage source throughout the game. They also use Soul, as I mentioned, which often means that they're less appealing to players starting out, because that Soul is usually used for healing. But spells also do a lot of damage, and importantly, don't require as many upgrades to make that damage meaningful. Which is the big reason we use them. While nail damage can be very powerful in the end game, and is how we will kill the last few bosses primarily, it's also it takes a lot more upgrades to be able to get a nail that will deal with bosses as efficiently as spells do from the start. So for most of the run, the nail will mostly be a soul gathering device. So our first spell is the Vengeful Spirit, which is also known as the Fireball, for probably evident reasons once I use it, because it shoots a fireball. And this enemy is RNG. It has a 50-50 chance to spit out either goo or one of its children, which we will then use to kill it. I don't know how many spits that was before we got a child, but it felt like it was 7. Ideally, you get the small boulder on the first spit, but sometimes that happens. I believe the world record is either 19 or 20 boulder spits, which at that point is just impressive, and it's also one of those world records you can't expect anyone to ever take away from you. If you saw me there using the charm menu for a bit longer than normal, that was over charming. The game normally doesn't let you put on charms you don't have the notches for, but if you try to equip a charm you don't have notches for 5 times, the game will allow you to and will overcharm. Overcharming comes with the cost of taking double damage, so for normal runs, you do overcharm this next area, but as you could see, I took off Fury of the Fallen because it's rather risky, and the only real benefit is that you have Fury of the Fallen for the boss at the end of this area, which is itself rather risky, so I will not be doing that. So here we enter Green Path, a lot of people's favorite area. I've been hurt by it too many times while doing runs for it to be my favorite anymore. I am still very much more a fan of the City of Tears. But Green Path is very pretty. So through this first room, we're going to be collecting a decent amount of soul, because we will need soul for a skip here. One interesting fact of fireballs is that they push you back a little, and they also stop you from falling, which means that if we time it well, we can use them to clear a gap that we normally couldn't jump to. That is the first of 2 fireball skips. Hopefully I'm able to get both of them. So we will kill that Moss Charger to be able to get full soul to use 2 fireballs again. I missed the jump. That jump is surprisingly difficult to make. Technically, you can do both fireball skips with 1 fireball, but it's much more consistent with 2. So there, because I wasn't able to make the fireball skip, I was able to use one of the husks that was positioned there to pogo up, and honestly, the husk pogo doesn't lose much time compared to the fireball skip, which is surprising. But it's a nice backup. The Moss Knight, which I just disposed of, is normally a bit more of a challenge for people starting out, but because spells are very good, it's not really much of a problem. So now we're going to come up to a mini-boss of sorts, and also one of the most divisive characters in this game, Zote, who we will be rescuing. So there's Vengefly King. The reason I ended up using Pogos there at the end, Pogo being a down slash on an enemy or an object, is because we need full soul to be able to collect these Geo Rocks here, because they're guarded by 2 Moss Knights. So we want full soul to be able to kill them efficiently. And now that we have a decent amount of Geo, a lot more Geo than I think most other categories have by this point, we're going to head into here, and we will fight our next major boss of the run, who is Hornet, and after killing Hornet, well, not killing Hornet, after defeating Hornet, we will pick up the dash ability, which is definitely my favorite movement ability. Hornet is obviously a lot more mobile of a boss than False Knight. Yeah, that wasn't a great fight. But yeah, once we defeat Hornet using a mix of nail and fireballs, primarily fireballs, ideally you're able to get double hits on the fireballs, by which you can manipulate the fireballs in such a way that you stagger Hornet and she falls backward and the fireball hits her a second time, though it's a lot harder to get than just using spells normally. Now we are back in the Ancestral Mound, because when you quit out, the game saves your location at not where you last were, but at your nearest save point, which is the bench. So because we benched at Ancestral Mound and didn't use any benches in Green Path, we are able to come immediately back here by save quitting to the main menu, and then entering back into our save. We will be using bench warping a lot throughout this run, because it allows us to have a warp point, and that can be very useful at various points. It is also, I guess, technically another method of fast travel, though a lot more limited. So now I'm going to head over here and pick up our first Charm Notch in the run. I mentioned how Charms have a certain notch cost. Thankfully, the game doesn't just leave us with 3 notches for the entirety of the run, because that would be rough. There are a total of 8 Charm Notches throughout the game. We will only be picking up 6 of them, because the last 2 cost a lot of money, and it is quicker for us to not have those Charm Notches, because of the amount of time it would take collecting the Geo to get them. So yeah, we don't pick up all of the Charm Notches. There are a total of 11. 112% picks up 10 Charm Notches. We pick up 9 by the end. I believe 106%, which is on an older patch of the game, only needs 8 Charm Notches, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So now we're going to collect full soul and perform what is known as the Explosion Pogo. This is definitely one of the more impressive tricks to start out with. Normally you don't have to take damage there, but, you know, sometimes we take what we have to. Basically, we were able to pogo that spore as it was about to explode because it has a hitbox. And then from there, we were able to get up into an area we normally can't reach. Older patches, you can pogo the explosion itself. On current patch, you have to do some fancy movement with fireballs to air stall. But also, the current patch version looks cooler. Fight me. So now that we have this ability, which is the Mantis Claw, we are able to jump on walls, which is, I mean, very valuable. From here, we're going to apparently fall in spikes. We're going to head over to the City of Tears, which is going to be where we pick up our next major spell and fight the next major boss. Before we get there, though, we do have to do one thing. We are going to get one of this game's cutest collectibles. We are going to rescue a grub. There are 46 grubs scattered throughout the game, and we do need to save them all, because not only are they that cute and that precious, the reward for saving all the grubs is 8%. They're actually like 3% tied to the grubs, I believe, but I'm not 100% sure on that right now. So yeah, with the grub saved, we're going to make our way through this big thorn gauntlet, and then use the city crest to enter the City of Tears. Do not copy this movement if you plan on doing actual runs of this category, especially when that happens. I'm going to heal because dying here is pretty costly. Yeah. And now we get in the city, and the door locks behind us, but that's fine, we don't need it anyways. Most people who have played Hollow Knight will know that there is a way to get a nail upgrade here, which will upgrade our nail damage by a decent amount. I don't think I went over damage numbers yet. Our base nail deals 5 damage. At the moment, our Vengeful Spirit spell deals 15, which is why spells are better for damage. Our nail upgrades increase nail damage by 4, and are good, but also expensive and, please, okay, whatever. There's a trick you can do to get up there, but they're also expensive and they take time, and there are a couple other reasons. So instead, we're going to ignore the Nailsmith to the left and pick up our first relic. Relics are going to be our main geo source. We can sell relics to one of the NPCs, and he will give us a lot of money for them. And they're scattered throughout the game, so they're often pretty easy to pick up compared to other ways of getting geo. Please leave me alone. Jeez. That was not how you do that movement. Anyways, we're gonna pass through a couple of these rooms before heading into the Soul Sanctum, which is... it sure is an area in Hollow Knight. Soul Sanctum is filled with both RNG and just annoying enemies. And it kills very many runs. You will notice we're skipping this grub. Don't worry, we'll be back for them. We do save grubs in this house. We just need to wait a bit for it to be better. There's our first Soul Twister, who behaved for once. That's weird, but we don't complain. And now we enter the Soul Sanctum. These Soul Twisters... they spawn in your face twice. Jeebus. They spawn in your face, they throw projectiles that can hit you from out of nowhere. And yeah, they just kind of make your life hell. Okay. we are going to hit these levers because we do need to come back through Soul Sanctum once, unfortunately. Rude. This room is known to runners, and I mean probably also to some casual players, as Hell Room. Because I think the reasons are fair enough. 3 Soul Twisters with the way that they move is not a fun time. Please leave me alone. I am not. I will be honest, this is not my usual Sanctum play, but, you know, sometimes the game is just very mean to you. So now we are going to deal with the next major boss of the run, who is the Soul Master. Soul Master is just as annoying as the rest of Sanctum. He teleports around, he throws orbs at you. He's a big meatball catboy. I mean, that part I don't really particularly care about, but, you know, stuff like that. And also, you know, just sitting there for a second. Okay, so that's phase 1. There are 2 phases to this Soul Master fight, which I think surprises most people when they first get to it. But the second phase is relatively tame. And there we go. And now we're going to pick up our next spell, which is the Desolate Dive. And this will allow us to... this is a downward spell, as opposed to a forward spell. The upgraded version of this is called Descending Dark, which we will pick up soon-ish, and is also very, very good, because both base dive and the upgraded version have a lot of invincibility frames. So they end up being very good for dealing with bosses, both like on a casual level and for speedrunning. We can also use those dives to break through some floors, which will come up a lot throughout the run. That is called a fake dive, where we dive next to a breakable floor without actually breaking it. They used to be RNG based, but the 1.5 patches made them completely consistent to do within a certain radius. I'm not sure how or why, but they sure did. So we're gonna make our way back through Sanctum, and then find a stag station with which we can leave the city, because we normally can't. Fumbling on movement is fine. Yeah. Gonna do this, open up this shortcut. Being able to do that fireball and dash out in time is one of my favorite pieces of tech. We're also going to use this toll bench and put on Spell Twister, which is a charm I picked up without mentioning. Spell Twister decrease the soul cost of casting spells. Normally, your full soul meter only allows you to cast 3 spells. Spell Twister means that your full soul meter can cast 4 spells. The exact math is iffy because of weird reasons. Basically, they did their soul math out of 99 when designing this game, instead of something that was, like, more easily divisible. But I digress. We are also going to be picking up the simple key, which will allow us to get into a later area of the game. And now we make our way to this SAG station. This is the city storerooms. And I will also be doing a thing here, which is known as I don't know exactly the name for it, aside from the Scurry Lookdown, which is named after a runner who I presume discovered it. This was before I became part of the community. But basically, the way that the stag bell animation is coded, you save time by looking down and then ending the look down animation, and the bell shows up faster and the stag opens quicker. It's very weird and not great coding, I guess, but it's a bit of time save, and we always take that. Now we're gonna head into the Crystal Peak, rescuing a few grubs that are in the area before doing so. Gonna say a quick hi to Mila, the miner, she's having a time. Mila is also another divisive NPC in this game. There are categories for both killing Mila as quickly as possible and beating the game without doing any harm to Mila. And both have fans. There is also Mila's Revenge, where you die to Mila on a Steel Soul file, and because Steel Soul is a permadeath mode, specifically, you end up just corrupting the file, or like losing the file. I just did a trick that I probably should have explained. That was called Fog Axe, where we pogoed the axe. There's also a community joke about a runner axe to you. I don't know the details of that, but basically we line up the miner in such a way that we can pogo the projectile it throws to get up there. It's not terribly consistent, but it is like 5 seconds of time save, and it looks cool as hell, so of course I'm going for it. We're gonna pick up this relic, and then we're going to pick up one more item here before picking up our next major movement ability, which is the Crystal Heart. I'm going to end up getting hit there because I played that poorly. That is the Shopkeeper's Key, which will effectively open up a second layer for one of the shop vendors that we need to buy items from. So now we're going to proceed through the rest of this area, and pick up the Crystal Dat, as it's called, after a gauntlet of lasers and suffering. This area has killed me a few times, I think, casually, and I mean plenty of times speedrunning, because the optimal cycle here requires a damage tank, and if you end up messing up the cycle, things can go sour very quickly. But I have done this enough times now that I can do it consistently while also not taking the damage that you technically save a bit of time from. And now we have the Super Dash, which goes very fast. We don't use it everywhere because it also takes time to charge up, and thus dashing is sometimes faster than it. But when you do cross long horizontal distances, you're going to be crystal dashing most of the time. I'm gonna save this grub. We're gonna save a few more grubs for picking up our first spell upgrade in Descending Dart. Let's see if I can get these pressure cycles. They're consistent, but also, like, yeah, okay. Also, fun fact, it is faster to go back through those crushers than it is to wait for the lever to open up the gate. I'm not sure why, but it sure is. And I missed the cycle. These aren't too bad as far as, like, missing cycles, but it does still hurt a bit. I am going to heal once here, and then we're going to enter a dark room. Some of the rooms in the game require a lantern to be able to see clearly through them. You can still progress through most of them without the lantern, though, as we will be doing for this room and then one other room later. That was not the best way to do that dark room. I'm going to be healing up before entering the crystallized mound here, but it works. That room is relatively consistent. The next dark room we will be doing is a lot longer and a lot more treacherous if you mess up. Now we enter this area, which definitely killed some of my runs. Or, like, some of my... has killed runs and casual playthrough. I am not playing this terribly well, but that's fine. We're gonna go up here, save this little grub friend, because we love grubs in this house. And then we're going to attempt to do a skip here. Normally, you have to wait out this animation. But if you take damage during the animation, the game will give you control back, and you can exit the room early. As we just did. Ooh, I think that's my first inventory drop here. When you open your inventory, your fall speed is uncapped. Normally, you can only do it on the ground. In older patches, you can open your inventory midair easily, which allows you to fall very quickly. On the more recent patches, you have to be walking off of a ledge on the same physics frame as you open your inventory. Or open your inventory the same physics frame as you walk off a ledge. A physics frame is about a 50th of a second, or exactly a 50th of a second, really. So it's a 0.02 second buffer window to be able to get that drop. They also just look cooler on current patch. Anyways, now we have entered our first dream, and we'll be picking up the Dream Nail, which is a very important ability for this run. Because the Dream Nail will allow us to fight a bunch of extra bosses and also collect essence, which we need for the end game of this category. I mean, also it's a percent and it's required for any amount of completion. But it opens up a lot of things, and also allows us to collect soul off enemies. We're also going to be performing what's known as the Seer Skip, where we C-dash out of the room as the game starts before... the game gives us a bit of control to be able to do a crystal dash out of the room before waking up. You can also use a pause to get early control there. And in categories where you don't have crystal dash by this point, you use dashes to get out of the room. And now we are here in the crypts. We're gonna save this grub. This area we only come through like once or twice, I believe. But we're going to mostly clear it out here. And I missed that fireball, but it's fine. And now we collect Soul Eater, which is a very good charm, but it's also 4 notches, which means that we won't be able to use it for much. It does come in handy in a few specific spots, though. Well, one spot in particular, which will be the Colosseum of Fools, which don't happen for a good while. No, that's not how you do those pogos. So now we are going to head back through this shortcut, which will allow us to get back to the other side of the Forgotten Crossroads. That's not how you do that. We're going to open up this lever first for later, and then we're going to crystal dash across Blue Lake. which is a very pretty area that we don't really see much of. It's nice. And now we are going to meet another one of our shop vendors. Or actually, this is the first vendor. This is Salubra, who sells charms and charm notches. We are going to be picking up the most important charm for this run, Shaman Stone, right here. Shaman Stone increases your spell damage by 33 to 50%, I believe, is the math. Something like that. It increases your spell damage by a lot. It also increases the AoE of your spells by a lot. And it is just the best charm in the game for a lot of the early game. It's a charm that most categories end up picking up. So we're gonna go here, we're going to save a grub. And if you know this game, you may have noticed that we ignored the Gruzmother, which is a boss in Crossroads that normally you need to kill to access Salubra if you don't come from around. The reason we don't kill Gruzmother here is because there are Gruzmothers in the Colosseum, which we can kill to get the percentage from Gruzmother. And while we do say all bosses, the people, myself included, who came up with this category and started running this category have decided that killing Gruzmother in the Colosseum counts as killing the boss. So we don't end up killing the one in Crossroads. So now we're going to say hi to Sly, another vendor. This is who we got the Shopkeeper's Key for. So he's going to give us the Elegant Key, which is going to allow us to access Shade Soul, which is our next spell upgrade. This will upgrade our Fireball spell. And now we're going to do a save quit back to this bench that we bought like 10-15 minutes ago. Over here in the City of Tears, which will allow us to enter the room that we need to use Elegant Key on immediately. And now we will fight another Soul Warrior in order to get the Shade Soul. This one's known as Norman, and he's a pain in the mask. You may have noticed that I switched charms to... I switched charms from Soulcatcher Spell Twister to Shaman Stone Spell Twister. Those will be two of the main charms throughout this run. They're not the only charms we use for the mid-game, but they will be present for a lot of this run. Because they are the two best charms you can pick up in early game. And the two most efficient charms, arguably. Well, okay, they're two of the most efficient charms. There's one more that we will get later that matters. So now we're going to head back through Soul Sanctum, and we're going to fight our first of the Dream Bosses in this game, which is the Soul Tyrant. The Dream Bosses are an upgraded version of... Hey, get out of my way, I don't have time for you. The Dream Bosses are upgraded versions of bosses that you fight normally. There's also a version of the the False Knight, which we will get to later, which is Failed Champion. Along with a few others. And these Dream Bosses are important because, well, one, they're bosses, so we need to kill them, but they also give a large amount of Essence. Essence is the other main resource in this game besides Geo. And we need Essence mainly for story progression stuff. So now we're going to come in here and Dream Nail the Soul Tyrant. Soul Tyrant is just Soul Master, but more, for the most part. And he is not really fun to play against casually, and also not fun to speedrun against because of the RNG in the fight. So we will be primarily using double hits using Shade Soul, because he often moves in such a way that we can get multi-hits off of it. I am gonna be trying to focus on this fight because it's very easy to die here. first phase. I'm going to heal up here before dropping down for the second phase, though theoretically you don't need to. Second phase is also Tyrant or Soulmaster, but more. Unfortunately, he spawned in the air for his second phase. If he spawns on the ground, we can use Deceptive Dark and it becomes trivial, but it becomes a bit more spooky when doing it in the air, because those orbs can hit you very easily. So now we're going to safe quit back to the toll bench, and head down into the Royal Waterways. Waterways are a lot of people's least favorite area, which is understandable. They're the sewer system, and the enemies are not fun, but they do have a couple bosses we need to kill. And one charm in particular, Fluke Nest, is actually relevant here. So we're gonna go through this short arena quickly. Say hi to this little guy who we didn't forget. Told ya. And now we're gonna head down and say hi to Relic Seeker Lem. As you may have noticed that I picked up a lot of relics that I didn't actually mention, and now we're gonna sell them. I need to hit that lever. There are 4 kinds of relics, which sell for 200, 450, 800, and 1200 Geo respectively, which is obviously a lot of Geo, because there aren't really many other sources that we get that much Geo from consistently, and there are a lot of relics hanging around, so Lem is a big resource for this run, because we need to buy many things here. So now we're gonna use that simple key we picked up earlier and head down into the waterways. And first we are going to defeat Flukmarm, who is not a fun boss to fight normally. Getting hit there is not a good sign. But Flukmarm herself doesn't actually do much of anything, but she also spawns these flukes, which sound awful and also are very easily able to overwhelm you if you aren't careful. So we're gonna sneak past the last of those flukes and head into this area. That's what happens. So thankfully we did still kill Flukmarm. I ended up messing up the quick kill to get to her, which means we are gonna have to go through this area one more time. Apologies to everyone. I would rather this not happen, but you know. Okay, and now we're safe. And now we can just come pick up this charm that we should have been able to collect earlier. Also my Shade. I didn't mention before because it hadn't come up, because I hadn't died yet, but your Shade is an enemy that spawns wherever you die, and has all your Geo. If you manage to catch it, when we respawned at the bench after dying at Flukmarm, we didn't have any Geo. Killing your Shade gets back your Geo, so it's not just gone forever, but you can't die multiple times before picking up your Shade. Because then you will lose that much Geo. And given we had 2200 Geo on our person, it's a very good thing that didn't happen. There are ways to recover from that kind of Geo loss, but they are not fun. So now we're gonna fight the Dung Defender. And if you remember the trick that I used to get Descending Dark early, we also abuse it here to get control when he screams, because the scream takes control away from us, and then the game gives us back control because it's a toggle whether you have control or not. So two actions that would take control away from you, such as getting hit, end up giving it back to you. I'm not entirely sure why it's that way, but we are not complaining because it lets us go faster. So now that we've picked up the... we killed Dung Defender, we picked up the Defender's Crest, which is his charm, and we also get that relic that is underneath him. Now we're going to head over here and perform a series of skips to pick up Isma's Tear. Isma's Tear allows us to swim in acid pools, which would normally damage us, which are normally a hazard. This section is one of the most difficult parts of the run, because you have to do 2 damage tanks in order to get Scream skips on Dung Defender. And then this section, if you mess up the skips, it is very easy for you to die. And we also have to do 1 more damage tank here, because we need to go rescue this grub before getting getting the Tear itself. That's not good. I missed my wall jump there, I think. So now we're going to go up here, and we're going to heal. Inventory dropping into a hazard will also give you control early, for the same reasons as the drop. For the same reasons as the Scream skip. So now that we have Isma's Tear, we're going to head out, back out here, and go down to the Ancient Basin, which is where we will pick up the last major movement ability, which is the Monarch Wing, which is a double jump. We're also going to get to kill 1 more Dream Boss, which is my favorite fight. Not necessarily my favorite fight of the run, but is my favorite boss in this game overall, which is Lost Skin. I really enjoyed the Lost Skin fight, both from its pacing and also from the lore perspective, but that is not relevant here. I didn't realize there was a guy there, because I haven't played this game in a bit. We're gonna get this toll bench so that we don't just die. It's very nice to have that bench there, for obvious reasons. And we're going to C-Dash over here. Technically, you can use a Spike Tunnel without C-Dash, but it requires a Shade skip, which means manipulating the Shade that I mentioned that you get when you die into allowing you to access the area. It's a little cursed, but it's very cool, and there are a few categories that use it. The primary one, I think at this point, being GPZ%, which kills Great Prince Zod as quickly as possible. So now we're going to head through these Maulards, which are also a pain in the ass. I'm just bad at moving through them, really. But, you know, getting hit like that is a bit annoying. That movement was bad. And gonna try for this. And cool. That trick does not look like it should have worked. And based on normal mechanics for wall jumps, it does not. But I did what is called a trans dash in the community, where if you dash into a wall and then buffer a wall jump, you get a bit of horizontal distance. So it allows you to clear that area. Anyways, here's Broken Vessel. There's Broken Vessel. Yeah, there's not too much to say about this fight. Again, once we have Shade Soul and Descending Dark with Shaman Stone, you just deal a lot of damage. So now we're gonna pick up Wings and then head back into that arena to fight Lost Skin, which is the Dream Boss version of Broken Vessel, which is both harder and easier. Lost Skin is very much a roguelike casually. I spent so many deaths on that fight casually. as I think most players did, especially if they got here with lower equipment. But the fight is very fun once you get a rhythm of it, and because of the way that staggers work for Lost Kin, it's very easy to get a stun lock set up on them and just kill them very quickly. That Shade Soul does actually do damage before the fight. Okay, so there's that. And now... behave, please. Descending Dark has 3 hitboxes. The hitbox as you go down, the initial shockwave, and then the extra thing on the top. The extra flare that happens afterward. Because of this, we can pogo into Descending Dark, which gives us 4 hits off Lost Kin's 7-hit stagger, and then we can use nail hits to keep him going. And as you can see, it does the job very quickly. We do have one more thing to get here before we quit out, which is going to be just another grub friend. No, that's not how you do it. There we go. And now that we have saved grub friend, we can quit out. We will end up back at the Basement Toll Bench, where I'm going to actually perform a charm switch that might not make sense, given the things I've said about Shaman Stone. Fluke Nest is... I mean, I think the best adjective I can say is historic, as far as charms go. On older patches, Fluke Nest did absurd amounts of damage, and also only cost 2 notches. 106%, which runs this patch... does full completion on a 1.2 patch, uses Fluke Nest for the majority of the run because it does a lot of damage. And on current patch, they changed that, they lowered the base damage, and they made it cost more notches, so it's more costly. But they also introduced a bug into the way it works, which allows it to potentially do even more damage than older patches. That is specifically that Fluke hitboxes last a lot longer than you would expect after they hit an enemy. So if you can get a large boss to move through the lingering hitboxes of a Fluke Nest cast, you can effectively get multiple hits of that damage. That's not how you do that. Now, this arena is to pick up a charm called Glowing Womb, which we will not use at all throughout the run. We just need to pick it up because completion. There is a consistent strat using Descending Guard. Before the discovery of Fluke Nest, for Failed Champion specifically, which is the reason we have them on now. Because of the way Failed Champion works, we are able to get extra damage off the Fluke Nest casts and use that to sort of cheese the fight. Effectively cheese the fight. But normally we used Shade Soul for the Glowing Womb arena. We have to use Desolate Dive now, and as you saw from me diving into spikes, it doesn't always go as planned. Now is Failed Champion, who is definitely rough, casually. But, you know, less of an issue here. And here you can see the power of Fluke Nest. It's not intuitive at all that this works, but it sure does. I evidently messed it up here, but it's fine. And what I just did at the end there, by falling off the edge, we exit the dream early, but the game also already counted Failchamp as a kill, so we still get the bonus from killing him, even though we fell out early. There's also a death warp you can do in Lostkin by using one of the balloons, but I wasn't able to show that off, unfortunately. Yeah. So that's Fail Champion, and now we're going to switch back to Shaman Stone for a good bit of the run. And we're going to head back to the Resting Grounds where we picked up the Dream Nail. And we're going to talk to the NPC here, who is Seer, who I didn't really mention aside from the fact that we skipped talking to her the first time. But we're going to talk to her now because she has some stuff for us, including, most importantly, the Dream Gate, which allows us to set a singular warp point anywhere on the map, or almost anywhere on the map, really, and then go back there using the Dream Nail. This is very important throughout the run for being able to partially clear an area and then go back to a separate spot of it afterwards. It also consumes 1 essence per use, which means which in most runs makes essence a resource that we need to collect extra of. Because this category kills every boss, we get more than enough essence from all of the dream bosses that we don't need to worry about essence. But most categories, that is something that ends up coming up in some way. So now that we've gotten Dreamgate, we're going to head back up to Dirtmouth, which is the town we saw at the beginning of this game. We're actually going to head back up to King's Pass, because there is an area on the other side of King's Pass that we weren't able to access before, but we now are able to see. So now we're going to be heading up to the Howling Cliffs. Obviously, we needed Mantis Claw to get up here. We don't need the other abilities, technically, but it's just fastest to do this when we have Crystal Dash, for obvious reasons. This next section is surprisingly difficult. I'm not doing a very good job of it right now, for one. But there are a couple tricky things here, including the last dark room in the run, which is the room heading into Joni's Blessing, which is another charm we need to pick up. And the Joni's Dark Room is definitely one of the more challenging ones that is used in main categories. It is mostly consistent if you're using the right strats, but it's definitely very easy for that to go very wrong. I am gonna heal here because we do need our health mainly for Dark Joni's. So next we're going to kill a Dream Warrior. I mentioned Dream Bosses. The Dream Warriors are Kickstarter backer created bosses, which are a lot simpler in design and give less essence. But are still bosses that need to be killed. And also, one thing you may have seen me do there was lure that Benchfly and then get hit. That damage warp allows us to get early control, and then use the Benchfly to skip up to the Stag Nest here, which normally you need to unlock all Stag Stations to get access to. But we're able to skip up here anyways. And now we're gonna head back into... We're gonna keep going left into the larger Cliffs room. I'm gonna get a bit extra soul because I don't trust myself in Joni's quite that much yet. Gonna do that. set a Dream Gate here so we can stay in cliffs after picking up Jonies and not have to go back through the Dark Room. Gonna use Descending Dark there in order to deal with any Vengeflies there. Okay. And that's Jonies. Well, assuming you make that C-dash, which I did not. But yeah, that was relatively clean. Next thing on the docket is to light the Nightmare Lantern, which is part of the Grimtrupe DLC pack. Which is definitely a fan favorite, because of the bosses it has. Both Troop Master Grimm and Nightmare King Grimm are definitely fan favorites. And just the general style of the Grimtrupe is very cool. What I just did there was use Cyclone Slash to skip the animation of the lantern lighting. Because normally that lantern takes like 15 seconds and takes control away from you. But if we use Cyclone Slash, we're busy in the Cyclone animation, and thus not caught in the Nightmare Lantern animation. We're able to leave easily. So we're now going to kill these two Baldurs, which are much easier to do now that we have Shade Soul. Pick up Baldur Shell, which is another charm we'll never put on. I don't know the exact map, but there aren't actually that many charms we use in this run. Because the best ones have all been found, really. The most recent actual change in charms was the discovery of Fluke Nest on current patch doing multi-hits. It was actually relatively recent. I believe a couple months ago now, was when people first realized that we could use... Well, initially, flukes were used for Pantheon speedruns, which are the boss rushes. The first Pantheon was found to be faster using Fluke Nest. That happened a decent while ago. It was before I became part of the community. And then more recently, it was discovered that they make sense to also use here in 107%, and then in the version with Pantheons, 112%. And because of that, we now pick up Fluke Nest way earlier than we used to in 112%. Whereas normally Flukemarm is the last boss you kill before entering the final boss rush in Godhome, which is the name of the area. You now pick up Fluke Nest the same time I picked up in this run, which is before Dung Defender. Gonna just head through here and pick up Shape of Un, which is another charm that it does actually have some niche usage. Shape of Un allowing you to move while you heal, but it's not something that's relevant to speedrunning. So now we're going to save quit back to Dirtmouth, where you will find that the circus has come to town. And then we get to say hi to Grimm, who is a character already. And the Grimtrupe here will effectively give us a giant fetch quest. A 3-part fetch quest, ending in fighting Nightmare King Grimm. Where we have to go around collecting Grim Flames, which are held by a mini-boss kind of enemy. We also end up getting the charm Grimchild, which is what allows us to collect those flames. Because Grimchild eats the flames, I think, is the lore. I don't quote me on that, though. Please don't. So now we are going to equip Grimchild instead of Spell Twister, unfortunately. Grimchild as an actual charm isn't terribly useful, but it is good to have, because it allows us to do the Grim quest at all. So now we're going to head back to the city storerooms to first get the Grim Flame, and then we will be using an elevator that's here, and we will pick up a vessel, soul vessel. We picked up a couple vessel fragments already. There was the one in Stagnus, and then we got one from the Seer. And soul vessels give you an extra amount of soul, which can be used for effectively one spell or one extra heal. They give you an extra third of a soul bar, I guess. You get less soul from hitting enemies that go towards the soul vessel. I believe it's 5 hits instead of 3 for a full soul vessel. But they are still good to have as extra soul. So we're gonna head through this gauntlet here, pick this up. I did set the Dream Gate, right? I better have set the Dream Gate, that would be bad. Yeah. And now we're back in Green Path because of Dream Gate. You can see why this is valuable. So now there is a Grim Flame in Green Path that we need to collect. And then we're also going to clear out the rest of Green Path here. Rude. First we're gonna pick up Great Slash, which is the second of the 3 nail arts. Cyclone Slash was the first, and then Dash Slash will be the last one, which we will get a decent bit later into the run. Don't mind my movement. This is not how you do this area, but it's fine. I believe this is colloquially known as the Green Path of Pain. Referencing the Path of Pain, which is a platforming challenge that occurs a decent bit later in the run. Path of Pain is thankfully not 8%, because I am not terribly good at it, but it is also very good content and would make sense as a donation incentive. Because people love seeing Path of Pain. No, I'm not trying to talk to you, Shio. I know your painting is cool, but we need to leave. Sorry. I gotta take this kid I'm babysitting out. Gotta get him lunch. Anyways, next up on the docket for picking up is Thorns of Agony, which is another charm that we don't use. Thorns of Agony is one of the few charms that has an actively harmful effect. It reads as being beneficial, but, okay. Well, for one, making me C-dash into spikes is obviously not beneficial, but it does damage after you get hit. But in doing so, it also removes invincibility frames that you get from getting hit, and not having those iframes can lead to you getting chain hit more easily. So it's not actually as beneficial as it seems. And that's the second Grim Flame. So now we're gonna rescue a few grubs, and pick up another vessel fragment before save quitting. Grub. No, that's not how you do this movement. Yeah, that sure was movement. So now we're going to head down to the Massive Moss Charger, which is technically a boss, but only in the technical sense, really. It's not much of a fight, especially now that we have Shade Soul. Shade Soul Descending Dark, as you will notice, make a lot of what are meant to be early game boss fights pretty irrelevant. And even some later game ones aren't much of an issue. That's not when you do that. Okay, I messed this fight up. Oh, please tell me none of that Geo fell out of the arena. That should be good. Okay, cool. Yeah, we should be good. That kill was a bit risky because some of that Geo could have flown into the transition where it would have disappeared forever. And now one thing we can do here is safe quit during the vessel fragment animation. We can also do this for mask shards, which we will be starting to pick up soon. There's a very specific timing involved in being able to do so. And generally this is what we use the auto splitter for. Shoutouts to the people who make the auto splitter, because it allows us to time loadlessly, which means that you don't need a computer that has quick loads in order to run this game at a competitive level. In general, Hollow Knight's resources are just very good. And the existence of current patch running being as big as it is really nice, because the main patch for speedrunning 1221 is not very hardware friendly. So now we're going to pick up our last spell, which is Howling Wraiths, which is the upward spell. I am going to try my best not to make a what's up spell joke, and I'm going to probably fail at some point. Okay, this is not how you do this arena. It's a very simple arena, actually. Not one people normally die in. But you know, people mess up easily enough. Yeah, this is our last spell. It's an upward spell. Howling Wraiths itself isn't the most powerful thing, but its upgraded version, Abyss Shriek, is the highest damage spell in the game, and when we pick that up in a bit, we still have a ways to go before it, but when we do pick it up, it will be our main damage source for a lot of bosses. So you may have noticed I ended up picking up the Lantern earlier, and that is for No Eyes here, which is another Dream Warrior, where you need to have the Lantern in order to fight her. Rude. Okay, this is going very poorly. Cool. There was going to be a neat piece of tech that I could do here where I, the same thing that you can, the inventory drop technique where you fall off a ledge as you're doing it also applies to other animations. So you can use the Dream Nail, while walking off a ledge, and doing so will make you fall faster. And there is a technique where you can Dream Nail from a higher platform and collect No Eyes Essence as you fall into spikes, and then get early control off of that. Obviously, that's less useful at 1 HP. So now we are going to be utilizing a skip that is simple, but very entertaining, I think. At least when I first saw it, I found it so. We're gonna use this to skip up to Crystal Peak again, to do the rest of Crystal Peak. Because this elevator exists, and if you C-dash up here and use Monarch Wings to get to it, you can just get it. Yeah, that's a grub mimic. Don't even worry about it. They're fine. Also a friend, I think. I don't know. They did a lot of screaming. So here is our last of the first set of Grim Flames. Awkward. Healing once before going. And now we're going to fight a pair of bosses. The Crystal Guardian, and then his suited up version of the Enraged Guardian. First, we're going to set this Dream Gate here to come back to later. On older patches, spells don't wake this guy up. Which means that you can just Dream Nail him and use spells on him to kill him without ever starting the fight. No, I can't set a Dream Gate here, because of how we need to use it later. Enraged Guardian is basically the same boss, but with more HP and dealing double damage. So I'm gonna try and be careful here, because 4 masks is not many. Yeah, okay, we're fine. Now we collect this mask shard, which is 3 of 4. How's this work again? There we go. So this is actually slower than just C-dashing out, but it looks cool. There's, for some reason, a part of that wall that thinks you're on the ground, or the game thinks you're on the ground, so you can open your inventory on it and then just slide. So now we're gonna head up here to Hallownest Crown, which is the very top of the game. Gonna collect this grub first, and then we need to get a pale ore from up here. Pale ore are the resources which we use to upgrade our nail. And we're gonna do a cool trick here where we use that spike to chain, because of where our respawn point is when we take spikes damage, we're able to just get out of the room quicker. And now comes one of the most fun parts of platforming in this game. Once you know this movement, it's just very satisfying to get it down. So now we're up here at the top of everything, and we have collected this pale ore. There are 6 pale ore throughout the game. The nailsmith who upgrades your nail will do your first upgrade for 0 pale ore, then 1, then 2, then 3. So there are 4 nail upgrades total. We already got 1 pale ore from the seer in the rewards for getting to Dreamgate. There are 4 more pale ore. We will get them throughout the run, mostly later on. And we won't use them for a while. So we're going to say hi to Grim here, because we collected all 3 flames. We're going to level up the Grim Child. The Grim Child can now spit. These spits are not actually that helpful. They deal 5 damage, which is as much as 1 nail hit, and they also wake enemies up from... They also wake bosses up from staggers. The main boss that this is a problem for is the second Hornet fight, which will be coming up on in a few minutes. Grimchild often makes this fight a bit of a nuisance, because you're not able to heal when you normally would, because Grimchild wakes her up from staggers. So this is going to be our last trick to King's Pass. And now we're going to use that Dream Gate that I said back at the beginning of the Peak strip. And now we're going to collect 1 more charm that we never used, Deep Focus. Keep Focus, a charm which is both expensive and not good. Oh, this is bad. I'm going to save the time that it's going to take for me to die and come back here. And I'm going to quit out at 1 HP because I am still bad at this section. There is a way to safely do that movement, but I am evidently not good at it right now. And this is one of the other big benefits of Dream Gates, is they allow you to do what are called quit-out heals, where you can save quit back to a bench and then Dream Gate back to where you were, so you don't actually lose as much time. Okay, now we're gonna go through this sequence of lasers. That's not how you do that. I'm gonna wait one more cycle, and we should be good now. Yeah. And now we pick up Keep Focus. Now we're gonna quit out again. This time we're going to head to the Resting Grounds, and then from there we're going to head down into the City of Tears, to the right side of the city, which we haven't really visited yet. Right side city is normally locked by either Resting Grounds access, or there are a couple ways to get in, but it's normally harder to do so than just using the city crest. But first we have a Dream Warrior to kill. And then we have a couple Gremlin items to collect. So this is Zero. Zero is not actually a challenge, I just played that very badly. Also, you'll notice that I didn't pick up the essence from Zero. We get so much extra essence that you can just not pick up essence from 2 Dream Warriors. Yeah. So now we're going to head down this elevator that we passed by earlier, and this will get us to the other side of the City of Tears. First, though, we're going to head up and collect one more Vessel Fragment, which is held after an arena. That is not how you do that. To put it bluntly. But we got what we needed. So now we're gonna head down to King's Station, which is a stag station. Hope I don't die along the way. I knew that one was gonna not be dead. So one thing that I've been doing that you'll notice is that I've been using Cyclone Slash here in certain spots. And Cyclone Slash also uncaps your fall speed during its animation, similar to how the inventory does, which is why we do it. These are known as Cyclone Drops. They have slight pros and cons compared to inventory drops. We can do them while moving horizontally. We can do them without needing to fall off a ledge on current patch, which makes them used a lot more. But they also, on older patches, opening your inventory resets your fall speed to 0. So Cyclone Drops may be preferable, where it's not a huge drop, and you do want to keep your max fall speed, and then uncap it from there instead of from 0. So we're now coming up on the next major boss of the run, which is Hornet 2, which is Hornet but more. I am going to be taking the safety bench. Optimally, we would just be going directly to Hornet with Grimchild. But this is a bit of a long walk if you don't end up doing it first try, so for the sake of not losing as much time in case something goes wrong here, I'm going to be taking that safety bench, which also allows me to have Spell Twister, which makes this fight a bit easier than having Grimchild, who is just a pain in the ass. As you can see, Hornet is very fast. And also can parry now. Hornet 2 is definitely an easy place to die. I've done it so many times. The fight's not that bad once you, like, really get the hang of it, but it is still a pretty RNG-heavy fight because of the way her parries work. When she's in the parry stance, she doesn't take any damage from either nail attacks or spells, which means you can use Shade Souls and then just not get damage out of them, which is very rough. Thankfully, she was pretty nice throughout that fight, but it can very easily go wrong and kill you. So now we have collected the King's Brand, which makes us ruler of this land, and also opens up the door to the Abyss. The Abyss is a area tucked in the back of the Ancient Basin that the people who made this land would rather forget about. But we're not gonna let them. So we're gonna head down here, get our last spell upgrade, which is Abyss Shriek, which is the upgrade for upspell. I messed up that C-dash, it's fine. This is, by the way, this is not at all how you fall down this area. There we go. Unlike the other spell upgrades, we do actually have to use the spell here, which is fun. Weird a little, in that it's the only one that makes us do that, but it's neat. I like it. And then we're gonna go pick up the Shade Cloak. The Shade Cloak is an upgrade to our dash, which gives us a dash that has invincibility frames, where we pass through enemies, pass through enemies, and pass through like projectiles and stuff. Also opens up some certain gates that are blocked by Shade Cloak. And the dash is on a cooldown, so you can't just infinitely iframe through everything. But Shade Cloak is very nice for survivability. And like a lot of endgame bosses are built with the idea that, with the premise that you have Shade Cloaks to dodge the attacks. So now we're going to climb up to this lighthouse with a bunch of siblings, which are void enemies that look like your Shade and are very similar to your Shade, but also do 2 damage. But now that we've shined the light on them, they go hide, and we can go pick up our iframes. You can quit out of this cutscene early, which is weird, because most of the other abilities that have a cutscene attached to them don't let you do that. But you can still do this on current patch for reasons. See if I get the early control. Okay, There is also an early control you can do out of that quit out, where if you spam the Dream Nail button and then also spam up, like you're about to use the Dream Gate, you can get control early. I don't know why it works the way it does, but it does. I don't need to change terms here, so I don't need a bench. And now we're going to head back through Kingdom's Edge to almost fully clear out the area, and also pick up our last nail art. If I can get my jumps off. So next we're just going to head back here, but instead of going up to where the Hornet 2 arena is, we're going to head down. Gonna save this grub, who has been trapped by Primal Aspids, who are arguably the worst enemy in the game. No idea where that hopper went. That's a C-dash, if I've ever seen one. And this is one of the Shade Gates that we needed Shadecloak to use. So now we can come back and fight Murkoff here, who is another Dream Warrior, who is known in the community for being a real pain in the ass, to put it simply. Normal Murkoff is relatively easy because of spells, but because of the way that the boss rush mode is constructed, he is a lot more troublesome there. Also, one thing I haven't mentioned yet about Dream Warriors, their health, their HP is based off how many nail upgrades you have, which is the main reason we don't get nail upgrades until the very end of the run, or near the end of the run. Because their health is so low at nail 1 that we're able to deal with them very quickly with spells. If we upgraded our nail as soon as we were able at various points in this run, then the Dream Warriors later in the run would become much more difficult to deal with and much slower. Which is why saving nail upgrades till later is still worth it. And now we're going to head down through a few breakable floors to pick up one of the charms that is actually useful. We don't use it for most of the run, but Quick Slash is very good. That's a neat piece of tech where we use Dash Slash, which is our last nail art, which we just picked up from Oro, who, for reasons somewhat unclear at the moment, has chosen to engage in capitalism. But Dash Slash gives us an extended slash whenever we dash, to put it simply. So that is the last nail art that we pick up. And it is actually useful in some categories in older patches because it allows you to open levers. On patch 1221 specifically, it allows you to open levers from areas where you shouldn't be able to open those levers. So next up is the Troopmaster Grim fight. This is one of the scariest fights in the run because we have to do it overcharm. Because of the way this fight works, it's both easier and faster if you do it overcharmed with Twister and Grimchild. This charm we just picked up is another one that has a few niche uses. Nailmaster's Glory makes the charge time for our nail arts a lot less. Like, substantially less. And Sly, as it turns out, is the nail sage who taught all three nail masters, which is why Oro has adopted capitalism, because he learned it from Sly, who is a bad influence. But that's beside the point. Nailmaster's Glory will be used at a couple points later in the run. But now we must fight Grim, and this is the first boss where Abyss Shriek matters. As you can see, I got a lot of damage off that infantry. That should be enough to kill. Yep. And we killed him in the middle of the second balloon, which is ideal, really. Shrieks with Shaman Stone on deal 120 damage. Grim as a boss has 700 health, and because of the shriek we got in the beginning, and then the 7 shrieks we got in there, we're able to just kill him immediately. It's very nice. We are going to quit out after picking up this Charm Notch that Grim so nicely gives us, despite the fact that it gives us a full heal, because we are still overcharmed with this. So we are going to remove the overcharm. We're not going to remove Grimchild to do so, though, because we still have one more set of fetch quests to do, and this next area that we're going through, which is going to be heading to the fungal wastes from the Royal Waterways, will still require us to have Grimchild on. So we're going to Dreamgate back out to King Station. We're going to go say hi to Lem again for the first time in a bit. We actually don't visit Lem as much in this category as we used to. There used to be 5 different times where we talked to Lem and sell relics, but we were able to cut out 2 of those trips by changing the timing of Geo, of when we picked up Geo. And while that seems like it's not that much, 2 trips is a lot, because selling relics takes a lot of time. Like, hex smashing through relics is a lot of time, and if we can do that more efficiently, if we can save time on doing that, then we can end up saving a decent amount of time while still collecting enough Geo for the run. Like, there used to be a point where the route had us sell like 6 relics here, and now we only have to sell 3, which is much nicer. So now we're gonna head back into Waterways. This time, not to fight any bosses, but just to get all the collectibles we missed earlier. Including Grubfriend. And we got Worm. Those enemies are called Worms, and they are... they're the same enemies that you would have seen at Isma's Tier when we were doing the acid skip there. And they are notorious for getting you all in the middle of doing an Isma's Tier acid skip, and just, like, leading to you taking 2 damage because you fall into acid, and then you die, and they're just not nice enemies. Waterways is not the most fun of times. I'm gonna get a bit of soul off this worm before leaving, because there is a small arena here. That arena lets us deal with any remaining stress over worms. And we pick up this Charm Dashmaster, and then we're gonna head up here. If I can get the trick. There we go. That was another trans dash to be able to get the distance we needed. That drop looks a lot spookier than it is, actually. And now we're gonna save Retta, who is just a friendly little bug, and also has been kind of stuck here for a while. And is also important for both a Mask Shard for completion percentage, and because of Great Prince Soap. So now we're gonna fight another fan favorite boss, which is the Mantis Lords. A lot of people end up doing this fight immediately after picking up Mantis Claw before heading into the City of Tears, because it's right there. We obviously took a bit of a detour into Spikes, evidently. But it does also mean that this fight goes substantially quicker than it would for a casual player, using only Nail and Vengeful Spirit, and probably only Nail. Grimchild, you know, sometimes has its uses. I believe this level of Grimchild does 8 damage, but I'm not 100% certain on that. There's a part of me that wants to say not 107% certain on that. But, you know. Well, I guess I already said it, so it's too late. Okay, we do need a bit more health and soul here, because we will have to fight a Grimkin Nightmare, which are the 3rd tier of Grimkin. And these ones deal 2 damage. So, having 2 HP here is not what we want. You can consistently kill them before getting hit, but it's also not a gamble you want to take, right? Thank you, Grimchild, for missing for one. Oh, come on. Could have left them alone. But yeah, we're gonna head up through the Mantis Village again into the Fungal Core. That's... Huh. Which is a small area at the top of Waste here, or like in this corner of the Waste, really. Which is rather dangerous exploring through the first time, but, you know, we don't need to see much of it, we just need to get to the bottom of it. Wrong way. There are, 2 Grimkin Nightmares that we fight, and then 1 Flame that we collect without needing to fight one. So now we fall here, we pick up this Mass Shard, and then we can quit out. There used to be a, not even that old of a route that 112 still has to be used at the moment, where you didn't get to quit out of that Mass Shard because you needed to collect Soul for Grim there. Thankfully, that's been changed. This is correct. Now we're going to head back down the well for the first time in a while. As you can see, the Crossroads is now infected, which happens because we got wings. Also occurs if you pick up a Dreamer. But now the enemies are less nice. Ow. Yeah, less nice. Also, you may have noticed my first essence drop of the run. Enemies can also randomly drop essence. The base rate is 1 in 300. It becomes 1 in 200 with Dreamwielder on. I'm gonna heal a couple times here because I am a coward. It becomes 1 in 200 with Dreamwielder on, and then when you've used more essence on Dream Gates than you've gotten from random drops, the game ups your, it multiplies your essence chances by 5. So right now, because I have Dreamwielder and I've used more Dream Gates for essence than I have, gotten essence drops, their chance is 1 in 40. This was Brooding Maw, which is not actually a difficult boss to fight with this equipment. I am just very bad at it, especially when having to explain the run. So now we're going to head from here down to the Fog Canyon, which is personally actually one of my favorite areas aesthetically, but is not the most fun as far as speedrun areas go. Because it is very easy to mess up and hit a jellyfish and take 2 damage and die, which is why I'm healing to 3 here. That's not how you Cyclone drop, but, you know. So we're going to collect this Charm Notch here in Fog Canyon, which is also going to heal us to full, which is nice. Gonna slide through here. We're going to set a Dream Gate right here, and we're going to head back through to the Fungal Waste, because there are a few things we still need to do there before clearing out the relatively small content of Fog Canyon, actually. It's important content, but it's not that much. So first we're going to say hi to Legeater. First, actually, we're going to equip Defender's Crest, because apparently smelling stinky is nice to Legeater. But Legeater is going to sell us 3 charms, one of which is relevant for this run, which is Fragile Strength, because it increases our nail damage by 50%, which we will be using for the last bosses of the run. Nothing beyond that, but it is relevant at the very end game. Excuse me. We don't keep Defender's Crest on because it damages jellyfish, because jellyfish have 1 HP. And getting jellyfish to start zooming at you with their 2 HP cores is not a fun time, particularly. Now we're going to kill another Dream Boss. This is Elder Hu, also known as the Pancake Man, also known as Why Are You Like This? Please stay in place. We also get to skip this guy's essence, which is nice, because I hate him and I don't want to have to deal with him for any longer. So now we get to go back to Pleasant Jellyfish Land. It's not really that pleasant, but, you know, we can dream. Okay, we're going to save this grub, set a Dream Gate out here, and we're going to head into the Teacher's Archive, which is where one boss we need to fight by the name of Umu is. It is also where one of the Dreamers we need to get is. There are 3 Dreamers, which are required to consume, almost, in order to get to the end of the game. The 3 Dreamers are locked behind 2 bosses and 1 extra area in Deep Nest, which we will be visiting relatively shortly. There's still a bit of time before Deep Nest, but we will be getting to all 3 Dreamers relatively soon. First, we have to kill this giant jellyfish. Any percent runners know the pain that is Umu, because this fight is cycle-based, and while Abyss Shriek makes it relatively painless, doing that fight with lower equipment can often be the death of your run, because if you mess up a cycle, it's about 20 seconds. And it's often RNG, whether you end up being able to get the cycle or not. Of course, with Abyss Shriek, it's much easier. But even then, I didn't play that terribly well. So this is Monomon, the first of our 3 Dreamers, who we will now absorb and, I guess, kill? I don't know. It's hard to say exactly what happens here. I'm not too into the lore of this game, though it is very good and very complex. I think the least savory adjective I've heard used for Monomon is slurp, which I really shouldn't have put in a recording. I wanted people to think highly of me for after. But, you know. Anyways, now that we have collected Monomon, let's use that word, because it's definitely not weird. We are going to Dream Gate back to outside of Archives, and we are going to head to Queen's Gardens, which is probably my least favorite area to speedrun, because it is a not fun time. First, we have to collect this Mass Shard, though. By which I mean, first we have to dunk into spikes unnecessarily. And there's the shard. I'm not sure why the sound is weird there sometimes, but it is. That's all I got. That's not how that jump works. I need to stop taking so many hits here. Holy hell. Yeah, I love Fog Canyon, but, you know, sometimes it's just mean to you. And now we enter Queen's Gardens. There is an acid skip that you can do on that pool of acid there, which is known as QGA. It's a big part of the any percent run. Ow. I did not mean to C-dash into that barrier 3 times. Or twice, even. But now we enter Gardens, which has, less friendly mantises, let's say. This whole area is just very unfriendly, from the thorns to the various mantises to the Fool Eaters to the infamous Loodles, which are also known as frogs in the community. We'll be getting to frogs soon enough. It's like 2 minutes from here, 2-3 minutes, depending on how badly I play this. Well, with that as a signal, yeah. So now we're going to pick up the Love Key, which is useful for a boss that we need to get to later in the run. That is not how you do that drop, but it's fine. We're also going to pop back into Fungal Waste for just a second. I sure did charge half a Cyclone there. You can tell someone hasn't practiced their Gardens movement recently. We're gonna collect this Charm Spore Shroom, which we don't use, but on 1432 is bugged so that it does a bunch of extra damage to the final boss, or rather the final boss is bugged for it to do that. It's not relevant here, but it's a neat thing, and part of why people still run 1432. So now, you see 4 grubs here. Only one of them is real. The rest of these we do not care about. Because they are all mimics. Classic Monty Hall Python. Monty Hall problem, it's not one, but you know, it's funny to say it like it is. And then I mixed up with Monty Python. Anyways, we're gonna travel through this long horizontal room, which has definitely killed me in any percent a few times. And we get to get a toll bench on the other end of it, which is very nice because, you know, bench is good. Save point's good. Not being dead is good. And here we are going to switch to Fluke Nest again. Fluke Nest isn't strictly optimal in this area in Queen's Gardens. It's been timed to be about even with doing just Shaman Stone, and Spell Twister Dashmaster is, I believe, the charm combo that people tested it with. Yeah. So now we get through this arena, and we go rescue the grub that's at the other end here. That was awkward, but it worked. Rude. Well, at least you gave me essence. So now we get to say hi to the Loodles. Loodles are... well, you'll see. They have almost completely RNG movement, and can just fall on you out of nowhere, and they're not a fun time. And they've been a bit more kind to me here, but, you know, still not fun. Like, you can very easily just die from full health there, if you're not careful with it. Marmu Essence. Okay, we're going to get Marmu Essence again, because killing Marmu gave us Essence. That's a very funny thing that can happen with Dream Warriors and Dream Bosses, actually, is that you can just get Essence from them multiple times. We are opening that lever for later, for the Flower Quest, which is a thing where we have to travel a decent way across the map, ending in Queen's Gardens, without getting hit once. It is one of the most frustrating parts of this run. It is one of the most frustrating parts of the game, casually as well. And, you know, we do it in a bit under 4 minutes. First, we're gonna go do this climb, get this grub, heal a bunch, because, ow. Can we get you down here? To Dream Nail you once, and go. I didn't really need that Dream Nail, to be honest. I should have just gone without it, but it does make having Soul Gear a bit more comfortable. So now we're gonna fight Crater Lord, who is also blocked by a Shade Cloak. And this fight is preceded by 3 Mantis Traders, which are just a real pain in the ass. I shouldn't swear, sorry. But, this fight also demonstrates the power of Flute Nest. Ow! That's not supposed to happen. But as you can see, Trader Lord does 2 massive worth of damage. And I died, but so did he, which is the important part here. We can take that off and put this on here, because we will need Grimchild later. That's now happened twice in this run, which I find rather amusing, even if really annoying. But because we did end up killing Trader Lord there, we are able to just leave and go to the White Lady, who will give us a White Fragment, which is half of a charm that we need later. Also, you may have heard that grub noise without really getting what's going on. Dash Slash allows us to hit that grub from the other side of the wall. On older patches, you're able to do that with a lot more grubs. You're able to hit grubs through walls because the grub hitboxes were different on older patches. On this patch, most of that has been patched out, but there are still a couple spots which Dash Slash lets you reach. And that one is the main one. And that one saves about 10 seconds from doing the normal path up to that grub, which is a big part of the reason that the route got changed to move Dash Slash earlier. Because we were able to do it then. Yep. So now we're equipping Grimchild, because we need to pick up another Grim Flame. Let me get a quick Dream Nail here. Didn't quite navigate that well, but it's fine. And we're going to set a Dream Gate out here, and we're going to head over to the distant village. Deep Nest as a whole is Spider's Land, so if you have a phobia for spiders, this is not the part of the run to be watching. Because they are kind of everywhere. Yeah, this area kind of sucks if you have arachnophobia, unfortunately. And there's not really much you can do about it. This is Brum, who you may have seen getting C-Dash Pass, playing an accordion made of another bug. He's also going to give us one of these flames, and he wants us to help him banish the Grim Troop and effectively end the cycle that Grim is perpetuating as part of whatever nonsense the troop does. I don't know the lore, it doesn't matter, we're not going to fill his dream anyways, we're going to go kill Nightmare King Grim, because it's more entertaining. C-Dash, or not C-Dash, Shade Cloak past that. Devout. Beast End here is normally one of the scariest areas casually and also for any percent speedruns, because the Devouts deal 2 damage. For any percent, you have to do a damage tank for the optimal damage cycle, and it's very easy for things to go south. Here, though, because we have wings, we can skip taking the trap bench, and we can just go straight up to the top, which is rather nice, because sitting on that bench takes a while. And now we have collected Hera, our second Dreamer of 3. Only one left is Lurien, who we will get to at the end of a very long circle throughout the rest of Hallownest. Now we're going to grab the one grub here in Beast End. The any percent grub. That grub is a point of controversy among any percent runners, or like slight controversy, because you can choose to save it, but it is kind of optimal not to. So we're going to take off Grimchild because we don't need it any longer, and also it's just annoying. You can see that I've equipped Spell Twister and Shaman Stone as per usual. The other term I have on right now is Dreamwielder. A lot of runners use Dashmaster for this section. I tend to prefer Dreamwielder, personally. Dashmaster is almost certainly actually quicker, granted. But Dreamwielder doubles the amount of soul you get from Dream Nailing an enemy. Dream Nailing an enemy gives you 1 hit of soul, or gets you 3 hits of soul normally, and then with Dreamwielder it's 2 hits. It's 2 times that, so it's 6 hits of soul. So it's most of your soul meter, which makes having extra soul for spells and for healing very easy. And it also decreases the amount of time it takes for a Dream Nail to happen. So you're more able to do Dream Nails on enemies, which are normally a bit riskier because the animation takes a while. And this also ends up saving time on Dream Gate. There's Galien. Such a difficult boss. Again, Dream Warrior's health scale with nail upgrades, as do the Grimkin, actually. I forgot to mention that. So the Nightmare Grimkin are a lot easier with nail 0 than with nail 2 or 3, which is annoying, but, you know. It does mean we can just kill them with a few Shade Souls here. A few bosses do also have their health scale with nail upgrades, a few normal bosses, but that's a substantially... Those are usually substantially smaller increases. we've collected the tram pass, which will allow us to ride trams, which are the last major way to traverse Hallownest quickly. There are only two trams, one connecting Crossroads to Resting Grounds, and the other connecting Deepnest to Basin to the bottom half of Kingdom's Edge, which includes Deep High, which is an area we do need to go to later. Oh man, I haven't done this arena in forever. Please don't kill me. Oh, great. I didn't get soul there either. That was a misplay on my part. I played that arena terribly. Healing once. And we do get a bench relatively soon, so I'm not too worried. So now we're gonna head down here, rescue another grub. And we're going to fight another boss. Definitely one of the more iconic bosses of the game, which is Nosk. Nosk is a fun one. The introduction for Nosk is one that I cannot appreciate enough. It's very well done. That's not how you do that Cyclone drop. Because the introduction for Nosk is you see another vessel just like you. But insert Among Us joke. This was just an imposter. Nosk is also the first boss that we found applications for Flukenest with, because another runner goes by the name of Rekka, I believe is pronounced. I believe it's spelled hacker backwards. Was messing around with Flukenest on Nosk and found that they kill Nosk real quickly if patterns line up well. Hopefully I get to demonstrate that here. We'll see. Nosk has 700 health, and Flukenest with Shaman Stone and Shade Soul normally deals 80 damage. I didn't cast enough I didn't cast enough spells for that to kill, but Flukenest multi-hits on Nosk very well. I believe I explained multi-hits earlier with Failed Champion, but just to go over it again, because it's, again, very unintuitive. Flukenest hitboxes for individual flukes last like a second longer than they appear to once they hit an enemy. So if you have an enemy with a large hitbox moving through the hitboxes of the flukes, the flukes deal damage multiple times, which we can abuse with certain bosses to do a bunch extra damage. Here we're going to collect another charm that we don't really use for Shadow. This is a charm that does have uses in speedrunning, specifically for movement ILs or individual levels. Sharp Shadow, because it lengthens your dash, is used for White Palace and Path of Pain speedruns. And theoretically, they're optimal to use for for White Palace here as well, but I do not know how to use Sharp Shadow, so I will not be doing so. Here we're going to collect another Vessel Fragment and complete our second Vessel of 3. This is a platforming section that I have definitely died to a few times, both casually and running it. now we're going to head over to the tram, which we got the tram pass for. Take a quick detour in the ancient basin to go pick up a grub and a pale ore, which we need for later, and then we're going to go into the hive, which we don't need this on for. So I'm going to take it off now. It's not necessarily correct to be doing so there, but damn it, I missed the cycle. What I just did there was open my inventory right before I got hit, and because I had my inventory open, I didn't take knockback from the hit, which meant that I was able to make it through that cycle without taking any more damage. Ideally, you're able to do it one cycle early. I was not able to, but you can end up making that cycle with taking one hit of damage, as opposed to the 3 you normally take if you don't get the inventory cancel. Okay, we're gonna save that grub, and then we just go over here, collect this pale ore. That normally you're able to double those two without with only one shade soul by getting on the left side. That bit of tech was found recently, where you do a bit more soul collection in order to get there, but you're able to pick up the geo from one of those Smolix, which is just a bit of extra time save, or like not even time save. It just makes the geo nicer slightly, because the geo routing in this run isn't the tightest of mainboard categories, but it's definitely not super lenient, and any extra individual sources of like 15 to 20 geo are not going to be frowned upon here. And now we enter the hive. This is where people make bee puns. There's the pillar. This area is also one that was buffed in the 1.3 patch. So on 1.2.2.1, this area is a lot easier because the largest bees, which we affectionately call big bees, only deal 1 damage as opposed to 2 like they do in this patch. And also, these small bees died in 1 hit as opposed to the 4. We do need Grimchild here because there is a Grimflame in the hive. Thankfully, they get stuck in walls easily. Okay, and now we're going to save this grub, who somehow got all the way over here. I don't remember the exact lore for why there are so many freaking grubs everywhere. We're going to lure this large bee, hopefully without taking too much damage. And they're gonna break that wall for us, and we're gonna pick up this Mass Shard. This can be a bit RNG as to whether, the big bee cooperates, because I have certainly had runs where I just sit there for a good like 20-30 seconds just waiting for the big bee to actually charge into the wall. Anyways, here's Hive Knight. This fight is also a very fun one, both in how it's presented and in the fight itself. It's also a fight that can very easily go wrong, as evidenced here. That was not a terribly good fight. We ended up on 1 HP from full. But that's just how Hive Knight be. So now we get to pick up Hive Blood, which 106% gets to just do for free. Lucky them. But they do miss out on the cool music. So now we're going to save quit back out to the tram, and we're going to head up to Kingdom's Edge, all the way up to the Collector, and then from there head back over to Right Side City of Tears. Now, normally, overcharming is a bit spooky, especially for as long a section as this one's going to be. We keep this overcharm on for the next, like, 10 minutes or so, which includes 3 bosses in the Collector, the Watcher Knights, and then White Defender. So, like, not doing this overcharm for Spell Twister specifically, because we could do this normally without Spell Twister, is what most runners do. However, Spell Twister overcharm is definitely optimal, and I've also spent enough time with it because I was specifically the one who labbed out doing Spell Twister here, which is why I'm feeling comfortable enough with it. There are also a decent amount of times where you can get extra heals if you need them. Like, it is not too hard to heal up here. At Collector, we get a free heal at Watcher Knights after Lurien because of the way that dream exit works. We're gonna jump up here, we're gonna Shade Cloak through these bees just to be safe, and then you get another heal before entering White Defender. The White Defender fight is a bit spooky, I will be honest. But it's certainly manageable, and the damage output that Twister lets you put on, especially for Watcher Knights, is definitely worth the fight. Also, if you hadn't noticed, we put on Flukeness for this area. Oh boy, this is not how you do this area. That's fine. Gonna heal up. Not gonna see Dash out. Okay, I am playing this a bit poorly, but it's fine. We also have Fluke Nest on here because it allows us to kill Collector, who is this next boss here, without the Collector ever jumping into the ceiling. Obviously, the Collector jumping into the ceiling means that we can't do damage to him, which is bad for us because it's slow. But if I can get this kill correctly, then we should be able to prevent him from doing anything at all. And not quite. I'm gonna heal up here, which is slow, for sure. But, obviously, marathon safety strats, etc., etc. And that's why we use Fluke Nest here. Shoutouts to Elowen, who currently holds second place for this category for having found that Collector quick kill, which saves an astounding amount of time and is a big part of the reason we use Fluke Nest here. So next up, we're going to head back out towards the City of Tears. We also get to dash slash the scrub through the wall, which is just nice. This is going to be collecting the last of the grubs we need. There's one in here. And then you die. That wasn't the best way to kill that guy. You can do it with just the flukes, but it's a bit positioning based, and I didn't quite get it properly. Gonna place the Stream Gate down here at the bottom of the Watcher Spire, and now we're gonna head up here, and we're going to kill the Watcher Knights, which will be the which guard the last of the 3 Dreamers we need. Normally you have to fight another Great Husk Sentry to get to that lever, but we can just shriek him through the ceiling. I'm really surprised any percent doesn't just do it like that, to be honest. And also, Watcher Knights, which are definitely one of the harder bosses casually, kind of become trivialized here, to be honest. Okay, that's not how you do that section. I have been relearning a strat for that, and I played it badly and nearly died as a result, but it's fine. We're gonna take this elevator up, just so I can heal. So, fun fact, there's a chandelier here that falls on one of the Watcher Knights. We don't need it. It's time to be a bit faster not to use the chandelier. Or at least even on average. Because of how good Flukenest is in this fight. And as you can see, we like, it can be a bit spooky, but also we get a free heal here, so it's fine. Head over here. We actually get to skip this seal, which is one of the more recent ones to get rid of. So now we're gonna head up this tower to Lurien. Ideally you dash slash just the elevator thing itself, but, you know, sometimes we miss, and that's okay, too. And now, because we entered the dream, we end up getting a full heal, which is why I didn't need a heal after Watchers. And now we absorb our last streamer, and that has given us all that we need to get the base ending for this game. However, we do need to kill one of the other bosses in order to get the full ending. Or we do need to get the full ending in order to... because we need to kill one of the bosses that is at the end of the true ending, quote-unquote. So we do have a bit more progression to go, alongside getting all the other percents. Here we will be getting nail upgrades, actually. Finally. So we're going to Dreamgate out from the top of this tower, for obvious reasons. And we're going to head over here. Normally we would actually say hi to Lem here. We do want to speak to Lem at the fountain here, because otherwise he doesn't actually appear in his shop again. But we don't actually need to sell to Lem right now. Ideally you cancel your C-dash in the transition, but it's fine. So now we're gonna go say hi to Nailsmith, who is over at the edge of the city. We aren't gonna get every nail upgrade because we need 2 more Pale Ore to be able to do that, but we are gonna get the first 3 nail upgrades. Which we will use for most of the rest of the run. Importantly for the Colosseum of Fools, which is a long wave-based survival thing. Words is hard, okay? But the Colosseum trials are much nicer when you have nail upgrades. So we are going to do this. And then we are going to Dreamgate back, and we are going to fight the Dream version of Dung Defender. And the main trick with the Dream version is, unlike Dung Defender, who staggers literally anytime you look at him, White Defender doesn't stagger at all. So you don't get a break in the fight. The good thing is that White Defender also is extremely susceptible to Fluke Nest. So we get to do a lot of damage to him. Though we are overcharmed, so we only have 3 hits to play with, and White Defender is known for being a boss where you can accidentally face tank a ton. So I have spent a decent amount of time learning this fight, so it shouldn't go badly. That's why. So the trick with that fight is that when he does the throwing balls of dung, it ends up meaning his hitbox moves a lot, which means we are able to do a ton of damage to him with Fluke Nest. Which means that normally he has a second scream, right? Same way Dung Defender has the initial scream and then the second scream after a certain threshold of damage. We just... typically, you want to scream skip, where you take damage during the scream and get control again. Instead, we did the scream skip, where we just didn't need him to scream. So now we're going to go over to the Coliseum of Fools. This is one of the more challenging parts of the run, and definitely one of the most stressful, if not the most stressful. Especially because optimally you do these overcharmed at 7 masks. I will not be overcharming the 3rd Coliseum. It is possible that I could see doing like the 3rd Coliseum overcharmed as a donation incentive or something. Just for the like content of will they throw or won't they throw. I'm comfortable enough with the first 2 Coliseums overcharmed that I will run them like this. But 3rd Coliseum is still a bit too volatile for me. So I will end up switching out so I'm not overcharmed for that, almost certainly. But yeah, there are 3 trials for the Coliseum of Fools, and we do them all back-to-back with this equipment. This is the main part where Soul Eater gets used in the run. Or the only part, really, unless you're doing something weird. I don't think there's any other point where you use Soul Eater. But basically, the setup here is such that we use primarily spells and nail arts to deal with waves of enemies very quickly. Especially because of Nail 3, Nail Arts also scale with nail upgrades, which makes them very efficient here. That's not how you do that, but it's fine. I don't really have that much to say about the Coliseum. There are a few parts, I guess, that are worth noting, but they will be very clear when they come up. Throughout the rest of this, I'm just going to be focusing on not dying, because that's the big thing here. Didn't turn around for that Shade Soul, which is unfortunate, but not that big a deal, ultimately. And of course, having done this run as much as I have, I've learned the entirety of these sequences by heart. But that doesn't mean they can't sometimes throw me off. I should be fine for Coliseum 1, but Coliseum 2 can be a bit tricky at times. And there's another Vengeful King, who is a good bit less of a threat now. That was a bit awkward, but it worked. Okay. Am I only just now realizing that this Colosseum ceiling thing is slightly crooked? Huh. Learn something new every day. And now here are the Gruzmothers. That was not how you're supposed to kill them, but, you know, it does the job. And now we have the final boss of Colosseum 1. This chump that we've had to rescue like 3 different times already or something. It's Zote. Zote literally cannot damage you. He is just a punching bag. But defeating Zote in the Colosseum here, which we have just done, unlocks Grey Prince Zote back in Dirtmouth, which we will go do after the Colosseums have finished. And Grey Prince Zote is the last boss where we actually use Flukeness. It's theorized that it's potentially faster for the end with the Radiance, but that hasn't actually been tested, and it's probably not meaningfully faster there. Why are you up there? I'm not sure how that double worked, but you know, that was a bit lucky, but we don't complain. Okay, that's bad. Not ideal. Oh, that's not good. I am not touching the rest of these. And that's what happens when you get greedy during the Colosseum. It's fine. This was early enough that it's like a minute or 2 time loss, and I will probably put enough extra time in the estimate to cover for a Colo death. But losing full soul from the start of this Colo is definitely more awkward than it looks. This is definitely one of the main fail cases for, or like, not fail cases, but this is one of the big time loss deaths that can happen. That's awkward. I wanted soul here. And now we're in much better shape. Ow! Leave me alone. should be a bit safer from here. Corrupt Mimic. This one's a liar. Don't trust it. I didn't murder a grub. That one was fake. That was not how you do that. Now for a bit of a groundless section. Now, I'm gonna heal to full here because I don't trust Obolobbles right now. There we go. And that's Coliseum 2 done. It was sloppy both times, but that's fine. Yeah. And this one rewards us with a Pale Ore. The last Coliseum trial only gives us Geo, but it is also 8%. I'm going to use the Quit Out here to Unovercharm, because for obvious reasons, I don't quite have confidence right now in my Coliseum 3. Because that one is infinitely more volatile than the first two. So we're going to remove Soul Eater and put Soul Catcher on. Obviously, this is a lot less soul per hit. As you could see before, Soul Catcher, or Soul Eater with Spell Twister on meant that it was almost one hit to one spell. Which is very much not the case with Soul Catcher, but with clever use of Nail Arts, a bit more Cyclones for Soul, you can still make it work pretty well. Rude. So now, if you thought frogs were bad the first time, get ready for Death Loodles, which are just frogs, but more. This is why I don't Overcharm Coliseum 3, because these movements can be very rough to predict and can just screw you out of nowhere. Please stand still. After it. Okay. Yep. Mantis section went pretty well. Now you can probably see why this is more volatile, because they added Soul Sanctum enemies for reasons. And then they made worse versions of the Soul Sanctum enemies in Bolt Twisters, which are... fucking... If Umu and Soul Twisters had a baby... and not a cute baby... That's not how you do that section at all. And now we set up for the floorless section. Yes, I said that right. We don't have a floor for the next good bit. And unlike Hollow 2, it's much more challenging of a floorless section. Okay. I am thankfully able to heal up to full health and almost full soul. It's not quite full soul, which is less than ideal, but we manage. That is the thing you don't want to do. How the fuck did you not die? Okay. As you can see, I would be very dead if I had overturned. And now the Death Boodle Parade. AKA, please stay off my platform. I built a home here and it's all I have. Okay, they were nice at the end, at least. 5 HP is enough for this section. Please just die. There we go. Not a terribly fast Coliseum, but we did get through it without dying, so, you know. And now for God Tamer, who has killed many casual P3 run of mine, but is a solid bit less threatening in the Coliseum. So now we get to sit here, get a bunch of money. I believe it's optimal to C-dash through these, but I didn't. Yeah. And now we exit and we are heading back to Dirtmouth. So we're gonna bench here, we're going to remove you, and we're gonna put a Fluke Nest on. And we're gonna grab this Greta shirt, which is the first shard we've seen in a while, and then it'll be the first of the endgame shards, because we're going to pick up a lot of shards here from the rest from NPCs. That inventory drop is surprisingly easy to set up, actually. Like, it saves a surprising amount of time and is not that hard to do well. Like, you literally just need to do a neutral dash into... Anyways, here's Great Prince So. There we go. Yeah, that's how GVZ with Luke's goes. He kind of just explodes out of nowhere. And now we're gonna go over here and say hi to Grubfather, who, as you can probably guess, is the dad of all those wonderful grubs we rescued. And now is, like, I mean, this is going to be about 2 minutes of waiting for Grubfather rewards. This is, obviously the biggest set time for, like, donation readouts and stuff. There's obviously smaller chunks, like, of movement throughout which you can also do that. This is also where I would be getting a water break. I'd remember to grab a water bottle. I don't think I can run down and get one quickly enough, though. I'm gonna try. Be right back. But yeah, this is just a good 2-minute break in the middle of the run. It coming right before Flower Quest is a little awkward because you get this very low energy period with this and then the shopping that we do right before the high stress event that is doing the Flower Quest damage list. But it is a nice breath of fresh air after doing Colosseum, so I am not in the mood to complain about it. The best part of this run is being able to make those grubs sing. And there's Elegy. Which is the final grub reward. And now we are going to swap out charms again for that, because Dashmaster is good for movement section. You'll also notice that we have a lot of Geo by this point, because Grubfather might have a money laundering scheme or something. I don't entirely know the lore behind why Grubfather has so much money, but I'm not really going to complain, because it does help us fund our rather exorbitant spending. Sly, as a proponent of capitalism, is rather pleased with this. And one thing we're going to do here is we're going to buy all these charms before we buy the last Vessel Fragment, because buying the mask or mask shards or Vessel Fragments knocks us out of the shopping menu, whereas buying charms doesn't. This is known in the community as shoptimizing, and it saves very small amount of time, but it's fun to get nonetheless. So now we are going to head up to the resting ground. I do have enough essence. I'm not sure why I felt the need to check that. I knew I had enough essence. we're going to say hi to the Seer one last time and get the rest of the Seer rewards. Which is going to include saying bye to the Seer. Because at 2400 Essence, the Seer says that they have done all they can here and will leave. This is 1800 Essence, where we get the Awoken Dreamnail, which allows us to get into White Palace, which is the platforming section that allows us to access endgame content. And goodbye, Moth Grandma. We are also going to remember to grab Dream Shield here. I cannot tell you the number of times I've forgotten Dream Shield in the run, but now we have one, so... This is a C-dash, but it's fine. So now we're gonna go say hi to the Grey Mourner, who is holding the flower and wants us to deliver it to the grave of their lover. I don't remember the exact lore behind this character because I never found out, because I hated Flower Quest too much for it, but, you know. Okay, so ideally we do this without taking damage, but we also need to buy out Salubra and pick up one of the mass shards that's in Crossroads at the same time. Which is through a Gome maze. Which is... It sure is a thing that we have routed into this run. Yeah, I'm gonna probably stay quieter during this because I want to not die and reset this, because losing Flower Quest goes from anywhere from like 1 to 3 minutes. It is definitely one of the bigger time losses in the run. So now we're gonna buy the rest of the charms from Salubra. We only buy 1 charm notch here. 112% buys 2 charm notches here, because they have slightly different geo-routing. But the reasoning behind this, despite having the money now, is that we need this money for Pure Nail, and then also for the final Vessel Fragment, which costs 3,000 geo. Infected Crossroads is probably the scariest part of doing Flower Quest, because the enemies explode, and you might end up messing up with the explosions. One fun trick we do there is we reload the room after killing the enemy. So that the explosion doesn't actually matter to us. That was a bit closer than I meant it to be, but we got through the Gome maze. And it's mostly smooth sailing from here. This C-dash is gonna spook some people, but it's completely free. I love how optimized Flower Quest is, such that it can do some seemingly, like, not worth it movement. I won't be going for all of the scary strats, because at this point in a run, you just don't want to risk it. I would not upslash that jellyfish normally, but I felt like it. It is absolutely faster to just down dash there. And now we enter Queen's Gardens, which is the final segment, but also the one where throwing is the worst. So we de-dark that husk so we don't have to worry about the spines. I'm going to stop the C-Dash early so I can react to this Mantis Petra. We do this room slowly because I don't remember where that guy spawns. And then this room I'm going to do without directional input at all because you can consistently do it so. Until we enter the safe zone and we deliver the flower. And with that, most of the, actually stressful parts of the run are finished. White Palace is fun, for the most part. I haven't practiced White Palace, so it's not going to look terribly good in this run in particular. But White Palace is very nice. Let's see, yeah, we do that. I should have dashed in, but that's fine. Yeah, after Flower Quest, we're gonna go sell the Lem, we're gonna pick up the Pure Nail, then we're going to go do White Palace, then we go do Void Heart afterwards, and after that it's just the final 3 bosses. That didn't feel like it should have hurt Bell, but, you know. Okay, and we should have enough relics here to sell the Lem that we're good on Geo.
Velmi Artred.
I would be very surprised if I wasn't good. I have been getting a few extra Geo sources, or not even extra Geo sources, but incidental Geo from enemies. Yeah, and we're plenty good. This is safe by 200 Geo.
Helma Delta.
One other thing that could be done as an incentive that's also slightly polarizing is that the Nailsmith is, after you get the Pure Nail, the Nailsmith steps outside and you are presented with a choice either to kill the Nailsmith with the Pure Nail, as he says he wants, or leave him to live. If you do leave him to live and then pick up Great Slash at some point, you later can return to Shio's hut and find the Nailsmith there. Having found a new column. This gives you the Happy Couple achievement, and killing the Nailsmith gives you the Purity achievement. The Happy Couple is run as a popular meme speedrun, and leaving the choice to kill the Nailsmith or go for Happy Couple is something that would probably be pretty appealing there. Anyway, here's White Palace. We'll see how well this goes. I'm not well-versed in White Palace recently, but the platforming here is always fun. Well, except when you mess it up. That should be low enough. That was bad. But the last main thing I can see as an incentive is doing Path of Pain here. Path of Pain is an optional, extra, very difficult platforming challenge in White Palace. And White Palace itself is not easy by any stretch, but Path of Pain is another thing entirely. But doing that at the end of this run could be very interesting content. I will say I'm not currently well versed with White Palace, so I don't know how well I would do with it or how like skilled it would actually be. But it is definitely something people like to see done. And I missed that cycle. White Palace, of course, being a platforming section like this, with the movement, with the moving buzzsaws, is very cycle-based. There's a cyclone drop you can do there, but I don't know it. That was a very lucky wall jump. I should not have gotten away with that. This is pretty solid for right side Palace. Didn't like make the optimal cycle. There are a couple cycles there that would save a few seconds, but didn't end up getting hit, which is the biggest thing here for sure. Hazard respawning anywhere is the biggest time loss you can get. So over here is Path of Pain. I'm not going to be doing it here, but it does exist as an option. Did not expect that corner boost. Ow. I recovered that reasonably. No, I messed the cycle up. There we go. And that's White Palace. Definitely not my best White Palace, and definitely like a minute off the best White Palace one could do. At least a minute. But, you know, it wasn't that embarrassing. I sure did dash in the wrong direction there at the end, though. And now we pick up the King Soul. Or rather, we pick up the second fragment of the King Soul. King Soul is a 5-notch charm that very slowly gives you soul. We don't actually use King Soul for its intended purposes because it almost immediately gets transformed into another charm, which is the Void Heart, which is required to unlock the ending where we fight the Radiants. So, King Soul is definitely only here for a very short time. First, we're going to buy this Vessel Fragment, which is the last of the Vessel Fragments we need. We already got all our full masks at Flower class. And now we have all 3 vessels. That is not the movement you do for this. And now we are going to do a very interesting charm change. Not you. We are going to put on all 3... we're going to put on Joni's Blessing, which turns all our hearts into Lifeblood hearts. Which means we can't heal them, but we also get a decent amount more. We put on Fragile Heart and Lifeblood Heart, which also increase our number of Lifeblood Hearts, because we're going to open the Lifeblood door here to get the last charm we need. Or second to last charm. We do this to get Lifeblood Core. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set that trigger to open up the area we need to get to Void Heart. I'm going to not fall into spikes, because falling into spikes there is actually bad. And now we get to go through this door, and we've already set the other cutscene to happen. Or we set the other animation to happen already, which saves time. Lifeblood Core is just a bit of Lifeblood. We never actually use this, but we of course do need to pick it up. And now with Void Heart comes an interesting platforming section. We have to climb all the way out of the abyss, which is very fun, honestly, doing this climb. This is definitely one of the most fun parts of the run to do well. It can definitely go poorly, and I haven't exactly done this in a long time. Not that long a time, but I haven't gotten back to it recently, at least as far as practicing it. So we'll see how it goes, but Void Heart Climb is very hype. That was a very weird jump. And I dunked. And that is not a good Void Heart climb, but it is a Void Heart climb. But yeah, that will collect us the Void Heart, which is the last key progression piece we need for this run. All that is left is to kill the final 2 bosses, which are... or final 3 bosses, which are the Nightmare King Grimm, the Hollow Knight, and then in the Hollow Knight's dream world, the Radiance. So, Nightmare King Grimm, or NKG, is basically the earlier Troop Master Grimm fight, but more. Following in theme. Not you. You. There we go. But he also has twice as much health. We are still going to be trying to employ a similar strategy to before, where we do shrieks during his balloon phase, but Also, he does 2 damage, so we don't really have much health to play with here, despite being at full upgrades. So we shall see what happens. Ideally, you kill him during the second balloon. But it doesn't always work out that way. There's balloon 1. And that is not how you want that to go. Being at 1 HP here, and also not getting the stagger after the first balloon. Okay, he is very close to dead, but still not quite dead, which is not where we want to be. There we go. Close enough. Got there in the end. Still not, like, really how you want that fight to go. But we didn't die, which is the important part of it. And fun fact, just like with Seer Skip, you can do an early control here. And also, we're gonna go by Wayward Compass, which is, I mean, according to many players, the most powerful charm in the game, and who am I to stop them from their beliefs? I will not be taking Grimchild into the final boss fight, because we are going to take this bench, because I'm good at the Hollow Knight fight on full equipment, because it's a very easy fight on full equipment, but I do not like going into that fight with 1 HP. You'll notice I don't actually have Shaman Stone on here, because you use primarily nail damage anyways, which is why I go for the endgame build of Quick Slash, Steady Body, and Unbreakable Strength, with Spell Twister along for a bit of extra damage. It's very similar to the idea behind the 112% Pantheons build, where they use Shaman Stone instead of Spell Twister because they have 1 more notch. If I had another notch, I would be putting on Shaman Stone, of course, but we just do so much damage with the nail. Like, I don't really need to do anything else. I just swing my sword at him. And now we have the final boss of the run. This is the Radiance. She is unlike every other boss in this game, really, in a way that I wish they'd try to implement more, but based on what we've seen of Silksong, might be the sort of style where we get more there. She's just very large. I'm gonna heal up just a bit here, just in case things go sour. But this fight is very easy with full equipment. Oh, and she is very much done by this point. She just managed to queue up the slowest attack there in time that it would take longer. falling there is not what you want to do for Radiant's Climb. And we can go under that platform, and that is the kill. Time is 32 seconds after the final hit. Or about 32 seconds. And that is 107% all bosses from Hollow Knight. Yeah, this wasn't really the best showcase of the category, I think. I certainly could have played it a lot better in the mid-game, but I do think this does give a decent showcase of what this category has to offer, and why it is something I find really appealing, and why I'm submitting it to marathons. Because there's a lot of content we go through, because Hollow Knight is a very large game, and we see almost all of it. And because of that, there's a lot of movement throughout the run. There's also a lot of not necessarily like challenging low equipment combat, but the way the combat sets itself up does make it very complex, even if it doesn't seem so on the surface. The movement is also very fun. But yeah, that's my, I guess, showcase of 107%. I'm Violet. I technically sometimes stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/violetblight. It doesn't happen much these days. I've been busy with school recently. Hopefully I can get back on that soon. And I think that's gonna wrap it up for me. While this cutscene finishes. Yeah, so thanks for watching, and hopefully this video works or something.